Advantage Athletic Therapy, personalized rehabilitation programs with a whole body approach. Enjoy the podcast.
Dave Scott, Hub Media. It's the February show with Craig. Don't worry about getting me anything for Valentine's Day, okay, bud?
Oh, it's too late. It's already in the mail.
All right. How about this? You can advise me. Let's do a checkup. Let's do a furnace checkup. It's February. People are forgetting about the filters and everything else and checking the smoke detectors and all that. Give me some advice this month. Let's get me started.
It is cold and flu season, but before we begin, as always, I gotta thank you for having me on, Dave. I always appreciate it. I'm very thankful that you always take the time and allow me to be on your show. Yes, it is cold and flu season, folks. This is the time when we need to be double checking all that stuff that is very easy to just slip the back of your mind. Changing a furnace filter, not very high on the priority list. Looking at that indoor air quality system that you bought during COVID, not very high on the list as far as doing that. But it's really important, folks, for not only for your health, especially because, it's cold out there, the windows and doors are closed, but also for the life expectancy of your equipment. Nobody today wants to be pre-buying a new furnace or air handler or something along those lines simply because it overheated, burnt out the heat exchanger because the filter was clogged or because the bypass system was clogged.
With the dirty filter, will the furnace just keep running on?
Yeah, good question. It will. It'll always keep trying, right? Because it's always saying, hey, you need heat. I'm going to try. But as the filter gets clogged, the airflow coming into the furnace, it gets restricted so drastically much, and what it causes it to do is it causes it to overheat. The amount of the way I talk to customers when I'm in the home is, hey, whatever you expect it to do in here as far as giving you heat, giving you air conditioning, blow it throughout the house, it needs to be able to pull that air from somewhere first. And if it can't do that, then you're not going to get that expectation. But the big thing right now is with this equipment overheating, there's limits that are inside there to protect it from overheating. But now you might be a day or so down without heat because that limit popped, which saved you from having to buy a new furnace or spend money on, replacing the heat exchanger, the engine block. But now you're putting money back into it when it was, oh my gosh, the filters that I bought on sale for $11.99 just cost me $450 because we forgot to change it.
And that leads to air quality too, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. So remember, folks, there's two different things. There's air purification and air filtration. Air filtration is exactly that. It's your air filters, right? Air purification is done through a different set, and that's usually UV bulbs, HEPA systems, things of that nature. And don't forget, folks, that the ultraviolet bulbs are only good for a year. Just because the light's still on inside the ductwork doesn't mean it's working.
So how do you know that? Does it tell you that it's done or?
Yeah, no, it doesn't tell you. That's the thing, is that we as homeowners need to be conscious of this. So what it essentially is it's two light bulbs, one inside of the other. The inside light bulb turns on, which creates heat. The outside light bulb that's over top of it is where the ultraviolet gas is. The heat from the lower bulb causes the ultraviolet gas to react, giving you ultraviolet rays, which kills germs, molds, bacteria, germicides, things of that nature. Well, the gases will burn out before the light bulb will burn out. So just because the light's on, it just means that there's nothing going on but a disco party in your ductwork, folks. It does not mean you're getting any air purification out of that system at all. The bulbs, pretty much every manufacturer out there state the bulbs are good for 1 year, 365 days. Having come from a manufacturer previously, they're actually rated for up to 400 days simply because they know the average consumer goes, it's been a year, I forgot, we got to get a bulb, we need to order one. So there's about a week, 2-week grace period in there to give you some time. But anything after that, really, you've burnt out. But as you know, as time goes on, even at a year, the ultraviolet gas that's in there is not what it was a year ago, even if there is some. It's burnt itself out, and that's doing what it's supposed to do. Same with HEPA systems. If people have bypass systems, a lot of those filters can be cleaned and washed. But there is pre-filters, other filters that are annual replacements and need to be checked on, folks. With cold and flu season coming, or already being here, pardon me, and with a lot of customers reinvesting in their homes as far as, windows, doors, insulation, things like that. We've made our homes tighter. So the chances of having indoor air quality issues are much greater than what they were before. You know, I've talked about this before, Dave. You and I, we're big animal lovers. We have dogs in the house. According to the North American Health Association, I know mine's sleeping back here. According to North American Health Association, the average size dog is between 60 to 70 pounds. And the reason I bring up that average size is because of the amount of dust, dander, oxygen, and CO that dog emits, that's equivalent to the average size adult. So if you have, so for guys like me and you, Dave, who monster back here sleeping, he's equivalent to 2 adults, you know, as far as the amount of pollution he's putting within the home. So, I mean, people don't realize that as far as animal effects. Cats, according to the North American Health Association, when a dog scratches itself and the dust and dander goes in the air, it stays airborne for up to typically 15 minutes to half an hour, depending upon where it is and if the furnace kicks on and blows stuff around. The average cat, minimum 45 minutes to an hour and a half, because their dust and dander is so fine and so small that it stays airborne. And that's why a lot of times, you know, when people walk into a house, it's like, you know, their allergies react to a cat immediately. It's not that cats are any dirtier or anything here. It's just their dander is so fine that it stays airborne for so much longer. So it's so much harmful to our bodies. So remember, folks, too, our lungs filter to a MERV 8. Again, part of the North American Health Association as far as rating air filtration. So if your filter in your home is not above an 8, then that means your lungs are not getting a break in your home. Your lungs are still having to work as hard, if not harder, than being outside. I highly recommend that any furnace filters that you put in are above an 8 so that your lungs can have a break in your home.
I didn't know that. So is that a code that's on them?
Yes, it'll be on the side of them. Having said that, the #1 filter that is sold worldwide, which we won't get into names, I have nothing against them, but they refuse to have theirs MERV tested. The reason why they refuse to have theirs MERV tested is because, not that the filters aren't great and will catch everything, but what it states is when you test a filter for filtration, you also must test a filter for airflow. And this company that makes the #1 filter sold worldwide at all your big box stores refuses to have it tested because they don't want the airflow test to be done. And that's where our equipment burns out. That's when we get the calls that you have no heat and something's gone on, because that filter's done what you've asked it to. It's grabbed everything, including the kitchen sink that's coming through. But it's also reduced the airflow so drastically to the furnace that now that $12 furnace filter that caught everything you asked it to just cost you $500 in a repair because it choked the furnace.
So let's make that clear for folks. If it's above an 8, that's good. If it's below, not so good.
Not so good, correct. Yeah. The industry average right now is 10 to 11. That is the industry average. So folks, you can go out and get these filters without, you know, having to break the bank and spend half of what you spend weekly on groceries on a furnace filter, right? But that's the big difference for contractors like myself. The filters that we supply that come from our providers, not only are they tested for air filtration, but they're also tested for airflow. So my MERV 11 filters, when they're 95% clogged, they still allow 90% of airflow because it came from the manufacturer, it came from Lennox. Because Lennox is going to warranty that equipment. They don't want to have to warranty a $1,000 part because you bought a $5.99 filter, right? So these filters, that's why they are supreme, because not only do they protect the life of your equipment so it doesn't cost you any money, but they also protect our lungs and our bodies.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's really, you know, it's those little things, right, that make that difference, especially like you said, with both of us being dog owners. The filters get changed a lot more because it's just, like you said, it's just what happens. You know, it's the price. But I'm interested now. I kind of want to go check mine and see what the MERV is on it. I'm curious if that's even on there, because suddenly that's just something else you want to take into consideration, especially like you said, cold and flu season. There was some stuff that came down the new year. I didn't hear about this. You sort of informed me, and I think we got to let the folks know, because when you told me that, I'm like, I didn't know this. So share that information, will you?
Okay, so folks, this is really important to know. If you're a homeowner, if you're a tenant, you're a landlord specifically. In Ontario, as of January 1st, and I'm going to read it to you. This is right hot off the press here. Carbon monoxide detectors are now mandatory in homes, period. Mandatory. With fuel burning appliances, so anything that burns fuel, So stove, whatever it may be, fireplaces, furnaces, or even if you have just an attached garage due to exhaust from your car. So even if you have no gas at your house at all, no gas, no propane, no oil, but your garage is attached to the house, it is now mandatory that you must have a CO detector on every story of your home, including basements, and adjacent to sleeping areas. This is effective January 1st, 2026. The rules are expanded to detectors every floor, apartments, condos, rental units. Landlords are responsible for the installation and maintenance of these units. Homeowners must ensure they work. Tenants must report to the landlords any issues whether they work or don't work. If nothing is reported, then it is not the landlord's responsibility. But there must be one, folks, according to the new law, on every floor of the home and adjacent to sleeping quarters.
This is a provincial mandate, I'm going to say?
It is. Yes, it is. Yeah, it was effective January 1st, 2026. If anybody goes online, you just go into Google or whatever search engine you use, type in Ontario carbon monoxide detector rules January 1st, 2026, and it will pop right up. And you can see everything that I have here that came up as well, too, that gives you full details of exactly what it means and how it's transcribed. This is something that I feel very strongly should have been much more publicized to the general public.
Yeah, exactly. And
No.
and I would think your insurance company should have gave you a call, said, hey, you might want to be aware of this, right? Because that's going to affect, we always see these things in that ball, but then it just springs out, right? It affects everything. So
Well, yes, I couldn't agree with you more, Dave. And that's the question that we talked a couple of years ago on the show here about the changes that were made during COVID and the mandatory requirements as far as maintenance on equipment that is now done through page 50, section 14 of the TSSA code book that homeowners need to be aware of. That it is mandatory to have this done, or if it's not done, and heaven forbid there is an issue, it could potentially give your insurance company a leg to stand on to deny any claims, right? Same with this here now as well too. Heaven forbid anybody gets sick or there's CO issues. I know we talked already, I believe it was before the end of this year, about sadly there was two people that I talked on your show were very, very sick because CO was coming into the house. Now that this is mandated here, heaven forbid that those people had passed away, because this now could, not saying it will, but it could give the insurance company a leg to stand on to deny even a life insurance claim.
wow.
Because this is, so the responsibility of owning a home means we take on, as homeowners, all the responsibilities that are mandated, whatever they may be.
Right.
This is another one, guys. This is new. It is something that's going to be coming through, but we all know how insurance works. We all have to have it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, we can't control the variables as to, whether, how they foresee a claim.
Can you, is this, I don't know, I know you've got so much on your plate, but is this something you would consider adding to your monthly, to your service checks? Like when somebody signs up with your program, is this something you guys would consider?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I've already implemented it to my guys that when they go in the house, they need to bring this to the attention. I printed off these sheets for all my technicians that are going in the field, even if we're doing an install and we're not there for service. If I'm there putting in a new fireplace for you, a new water heater, a new whatever, we bring this up and say, hey, just so you're aware, because the question that guys like me have as contractors is, who is responsible for relaying this information to the homeowner? Because I know as a homeowner, this is news to me. And if I didn't do what I do as a career, I don't know how I would have found this out.
I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. Like, honestly, I don't, unless my insurance company called me up. And I think that's the other part too, is a homeowner, you kind of are overwhelmed now. There's so many rules and regulations, and there's so much catch-22s with insurance companies. Like you're never going to have it all covered, it seems, anymore.
Absolutely. And this is where, again, we go back to, the conversation that we had a while ago about a couple of years ago with the changes and having, the importance of having maintenance done, not only for the equipment, but for the safety of your home. It just gives them a leg to stand on. And the Castle Law in Canada says, you own your home. You can do whatever you want. But those monthly payments that you're making to your insurance company by not following the laws and bylaws based on wherever county you are or where you're in here, that gives your insurance company every leg to stand to deny a claim, despite the fact that you're still paying monthly for the insurance. And heaven forbid you have a problem 15 years later, 20 years later, and who knows, you might have been already paying insurance for 20 plus years. So you've done your job as a diligent, person by maintaining that insurance and homeowner. But these are things that they're saying are law. This is the way it's got to go. So we need to be aware, and I'm taking it on from my business standpoint, that we're going to try and just let people know when we go in the home and just say, hey, this isn't us. We're happy to, look into offering some for you, and we're happy to check them for you. But it is something that they're saying is mandatory.
I'm just kind of blown away. I didn't see that, didn't hear about it. But I mean, that's why we do the podcast, right? So we can inform people of these things and get them aware of what's going on out there, especially when it concerns home heating. We're talking to Craig from Cousins Cooling and Heating in Simcoe on the Queensway. Craig, thanks for doing this, but that's so much information. I do want to circle back on another show at some point and talk more about filters, because I don't think we understand them enough. Like when you told me that about the MERV, above MERV 8, I had no clue. Like, I think that's something else where it's those little things, as a homeowner, you're like, oh, okay, next time I'll look, right? Or, those little points that you say, like with the CO, with the carbon units, and just making people aware. And we could go down that road too, because I don't even know what a good one is. I'm sure there's some that, you're going to go, well, geez, don't get that one because.
Right. And I'm more than happy to do it. And the other thing too, folks, filters don't have to be crazy expensive all the time. So for example, what I mean by that is, I'm like you, Dave, I got 3 very big dogs, so I'm changing mine regularly. But the expensive filters, my son and I both have allergies to ragweed. So I only put that expensive one in August and September when ragweed's at its peak. I pull it out, I clean it, I vacuum it, I put it back on the shelf, and I go back to my MERV 11 filter for the rest of the year. So what I'm trying to say is, if you do have a home that's like ours, where we have pets or we have plants or we have whichever that we need to adjust for, if it's more of a seasonal thing, it doesn't mean you still have to buy that $200 filter or $100 filter or whatever it is every 3 months you go in there. You have options that you can adjust based on your home. And I'm happy to talk about that, Dave. I think that's a great idea on another show. And we can also talk about what are the big things as far as affecting indoor air quality. Typically, it's plants, pets, and hardwood. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, we とtalk about that stuff, because you just nailed 3 of my problems right there. Oh, look, it's going to be a show about Dave next time, guys. And we'll let you all sit in and listen to me tell Craig about all the spider plants in the house and the 3 dogs and the hardwood floors oh, never mind. We'd be all day. Man, thanks for doing this. Hope February goes great. That's another piece of advice. Like you said, it's seasonal. You kind of got to look. I never even thought about that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's when my allergies hit, I never even think about my furnace.
Yeah. No,
it's usually April, May, right, when I get it. And it's like,
And the ironic part too of that, and again, we can share this for another day, but majority of homes today have an air exchanger. So when people go in their house and their allergies are still bad, it's because your house is so well insulated that it's causing an air exchanger to make sure that fresh air is coming in. So unbeknownst to you, all the allergies outside are just getting poured right into the home, and then it's exhausting stale air out of the home. So it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Again, it's giving you that fresh air. But during that allergy season, it's just pumping it in, and people are going,
just keeping it going.
Why are my allergies so bad this year? Right? You might as well sleep with the windows open.
Yeah, all those medications can go out the window.
Yeah,
can literally go out the window now. You don't need
literally.
It.
Exactly.
Oh man. All right. Yeah. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks for doing this, bud.
Thank you as always. Take care, folks.